Go through it if you need to.
I will.
Line by line.
I can do
Good evening, everybody. It's now time for Town of Farragut Board of Mayor and Aldermen. We'll start by rising for a Todd Graves. Will Todd,
Yes, he
where
is.
are you?
Yes.
Yes.
Our Father in heaven, we humbly come before thee this evening as a few of thy children. We're grateful for the privileges that have been afforded to us in this great nation to meet together and to gather and assemble and to lead and direct this community. We're grateful, Father, for the privilege it is to be able to meet together tonight to discuss the issues that face this great town. We pray, Father in heaven, for a spirit of understanding, with a desire from all parties to listen and to understand. We pray, Father in heaven, that will guide and direct this board to find the solutions that will strengthen the community and meet the needs of the individual. And these blessings we pray for in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
And the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item is approval of the agenda.
Any changes? Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Under Mayor's report, we have two items. Beautification awards. Do we want to do that now? Okay. And how are we going to do this?
Am I supposed to be talking into this? Okay, good evening. I'm Marty Rogers, and I'm chair of Farragut's Beautification Committee. And so it's my pleasure and delight tonight to present the Beautification Awards. These are selected by the Beautification Committee, and all these nice ladies here represent that hard-working committee, and we have very pleasant times together, and we're very gratefully blessed with the help of our staff person, Arlene Higginbotham. So we're a good group. The criteria that the committee uses to judge these awards in developments within the town of Farragut are landscape design, selection of plant material, maintenance, first impressions, and last impressions. The committee has for this year chosen 7 winners. We'll be shown a presentation, a short presentation of all the winners. And then following that, each one individually will be asked to come forward for the award presentation and a photo with Mayor McGill. In the category of commercial office buildings, the winner is Parkside Plaza, located on Parkside Drive, and accepting that award are Polly Matherly and Debbie Petrolina. In the category of commercial retail building, the winner is David's Abbey Carpet and Floors, located on Kingston Pike. Accepting that award is David Hayes. In the category of residential entrance, the winner is the farm at Willow Creek subdivision, located on Evans Road. Don Pinkstaff will be accepting that award. In the category of religious institution, the winner is Concord United Methodist Church, located on Roan Drive, and accepting their award is Alan Seagraves. In the category of retail commercial complex, the winner is Renaissance Farragut, located on Kingston Pike. The award will be accepted by Nick Myers. In the category of multi-family residential complex, the winner is Summit View of Farragut, located on Kingston Pike off Fretz Road. The award accepting people are Richard Lawrence and Joanna Henning. This year's new category, Hotel Motel, the winner is Staybridge Suites, located on Campbell Lakes Drive. And at publishing time, we didn't know who was accepting or who is accepting that. We'll just watch and see. So now, if as you're called individually by designation of who or what is receiving the award for whom you're picking it up, then if you'll come, Mayor McGill will stay with you to have your picture made with him. Parkside Plaza. Congratulations, ladies.
Sure. You can start around it. That's great.
David's Abbey Carpet and Floors. David Hayes is accepting. Congratulations. The farm at Willow Creek to be accepted by Don Pinkstaff. Congratulations. Concord United Methodist Church. Anyone here from Concord? Mr. Seagraves is at the drugstore helping his wife, I bet. Renaissance Farragut. Nick Myers will accept. Congratulations. Summit View of Farragut. Richard Lawrence and Joanna Henning. Richard Lawrence. Congratulations. Staybridge Suites, the Hotel Motel winner. Is there anyone here representing? Good. Congratulations. thanks to each of you for being the winners, and we're happy that you had representation here and look forward to doing the same thing for somebody else next year. Thank you.
Beautification Committee, for all you, I know that's a lot of hard work. That's a lot of buildings to look at. That's a lot of neighborhood entrances to look at. So we appreciate your efforts in encouraging our community to be very beautiful. Appreciate it.
Hear, hear. I think we have a couple of people who here who go around and pick out the place.
Yeah.
You want to show who they are?
Yeah, we ought to.
Or do they want to be?
Beautification Committee. I don't know.
All
what-
of it?
Down front here for a picture.
Some aren't here, and we have two at least that weren't able to be here.
Well, those of you who are here, raise your hands. And thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Where were we? Down to Citizens Forum.
No, we
No,
have
no, no.
Community Health Council.
I'm sorry.
Community, oh yeah, sorry Dot. This is Community Health Council update
Right.
by Dot LaMarche.
Yes. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the mayor and the board of aldermen for giving me the opportunity to serve as your volunteer for the Community Health Council. Tonight, I have with me Erin Reed. She's a health planner for the Knox County Health Department, and she's going to give you a copy of our report
Thank you, Erin.
that you can take home tonight and read. Know what some of the things that I have been doing. The Community Health Council serves the city of Knoxville, the county of Knoxville, and Farragut. It was established in 2013 with two purposes: to advise elected and appointed officials in matters of health, and to draft and implement a strategic plan for health improvement every few years under an initiative called Tennessee Healthy Knox. In 2015, the Knox County Health Department released its second community health assessment, and the council selected 4 priority health goals based on those data. Number 1, increase access to mental health resources. 2, decrease the opiate abuse. And you know that Tennessee State is now in a crisis with opiate abuse. Decrease tobacco use among youth and pregnant women. And number 4, increase access to safe parks, greenways, and sidewalks. These 4 goals, with associated measurable health objectives, make up the 2016-2019 Community Health Improvement Plan. Over the past year, partners have improved data collection and communication, supported prevention efforts, and worked for policy changes, among many other activities. Among some of the improvements that we have seen is, number 1, a decrease in suicide rate, and that's so important in our county and city, and in the amount of opioids prescribed, and the number of babies born dependent on drugs, and the smoking rates among youth and pregnant women have decreased. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve on this committee. It's been a wonderful chance for me. I'm in my 3rd year now, and will continue representing the town of Farragut, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you. The next item is, if I can turn the page. Down to business items, approval of bids,
Citizens forum.
contract, are we, oh,
And approval of minutes.
citizens forums, I'm sorry.
No one has signed up.
Everybody signed up. Anybody want to say something now?
We've got the approval of the minutes first from last.
Oh, sorry, I missed that as well. Approval of minutes.
It's,
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And now,
Good
Business.
evening, everyone. This item is approval of bids for contract 2018-05, street resurfacing. As you know, each year, the engineering department, we identify all the priorities within the town that we can cover within our annual resurfacing budget. This year's contract includes the resurfacing of Parkside Drive from Campbell Station Road to the town's limits. That's the eastern limits. That's about 1,000 feet west of Turkey Cove Lane and Pinnacle of Turkey Creek. We'll also include resurfacing of Evans Road from Cottage Stone Boulevard to McPhee Road. All the work on Parkside Drive will be done at night, and all the work is to be completed by October 5th, 2018. We received 2 bids for contract 2018-05 on April 24th. APAC Atlantic bid $778,936.75, and Duracap Asphalt bid $777,000, $777,681.51. Those are very tight bids. We're pleased with these, and it's within our budget. We have not awarded this contract to Duracap Asphalt in the past, but they are making inroads into this area. They've done quite a bit of work with Knox County, and TDOT, our contacts there, have given them glowing remarks. So staff recommendation is approval of bids and award of contract 2018-05 to Duracap Asphalt Company Incorporated for their low bid of $777,681.51.
I'm going to move for approval of bids and award of contract 2018-05 to Duracap Asphalt Company Incorporated for their low bid of $777,681.51.
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Wait.
Do we have discussion?
Question?
I have one question. Does that, I know that this is probably going to happen as OSA's works completed by October 5th. Are the asphalt companies open? Are they starting to make asphalt? Do you know?
They are open now, yes.
Okay.
They usually open in the March-April timeframe.
Okay. All right. Just making sure.
I noticed we're using trackless tack too. Is this company aware of the problems we've had in the past? And I guess if we're using the trackless, we shouldn't have any problems. Is that correct?
We aren't the only people who have had trouble with that.
Okay.
And, but that's why we included in the contract.
Good.
Okay. Great.
I have no other questions.
I have none.
And none?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to ordinances and resolutions. First one is public hearing and second reading, ordinance 18-04, ordinance to add municipal finance and taxation by adding Chapter 1, Hotel Motel Tax of Farragut Municipal Code.
I'm going to move to approve ordinance 18-04 on second reading to add Title V Municipal Finance and Taxation of the Farragut Municipal Code by adding Chapter 1 Hotel Motel Tax.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
There's no changes to this. Is that correct?
Mayor and Board, the only changes that were made were basically from our last first reading of the ordinance. The Board adopted a 2.5% tax under first reading, and the other change would have been just a slight change to the effective date. The effective date was originally basically the effective date of the enactment of the ordinance, and we have moved that back to June 1st to give people enough time to do any kind of filing and reporting and work with the hotels on anything that they have questions about. So that's the only changes from first reading to second reading that you have. And I know that we do have some speakers tonight as well.
So we're going to have speakers? Yes. Okay.
Our first speaker is Sam Patel.
Go over here to this and give us your name.
Good evening. My name is Sam Patel. I reside at 11615 Autumn Glade Lane in here in Farragut. I've been a Farragut resident for over 16 years, and as well as a owner of multiple hotels here in Farragut. As one of your constituents, an employer of many of your constituents, I feel my concern and our concerns are going unanswered. I, as well as others, have written numerous emails with no response back, with the exception of Alderman Markley. And thank you, Alderman Markley, for those responses back. As the business owner and constituents who are directly impacted by this tax, you should take time and listen and understand our concerns. You should have involved us through the process and not rush through it without proper communication. This is the very thing that happened the last time this subject came up a few years back. And at that time, we were told that we'd be involved in any kind of future endeavors by involving hotel representation on a committee to help the town understand tourism. That never happened. Have you personally visited all the hotels here in town and talked to the owners and the staff that this tax is affecting? Have you talked to the local businesses here in town that use our hotels for their employees and their clients on how that's going to affect with this proposed tax? Have you talked to the local restaurants in town that rely on a percentage of their business from the hotel guest on how this will affect them from this proposed tax? Some of you on the board are business owners. Put yourself in our shoes. Why would we oppose something if it's beneficial for our businesses? If it's going to increase our revenue, we would be all for it. There's a reason that we're opposing this. Secondly, if the town singled out your business that you owned to tax, would you feel the same way as you do now? Fundamentally, singling out 9 businesses in a town of hundreds of businesses is not how this town was funded or founded. This sets precedents to tax restaurants and other businesses in town. We are experts in hospitality and tourism. That's what we do day in and out. You guys, you're operating the town, and, honestly, we are experts on welcoming people into this town. That's what we do day in and out. If we tell you this is going to negatively affect our business and will not help fill the void left by the high income tax, so far our words are falling on deaf ears. We live and breathe hospitality and tourism. My family and I have been in this industry for over 30 years, and I sit on numerous hospitality and tourism boards and committees. When I say this will impact our business, it's going to impact our business negatively. With the implementation of this tax, our competitive advantage over surrounding communities will be gone. Our director of sales uses this advantage day in and day out. Our goal is to drive revenue. If we make more money, the town generates more money. When more people and groups stay in our hotels, again, the town generates more money. The proposed tax will not only reduce our revenues, but will have a halo effect to the surrounding businesses that rely on our customers. The town may generate some revenue with the collected tax, but it will not be enough to offset the losses of the tax revenue and the damages done to our businesses. I noticed in several places on the mayor's and alderman report an agenda for this proposed tax that the report of the Tennessee Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations, IR, or TACIR for short, was referenced to help back your rationale to impose this tax. I've too read that report. What was not included in your agenda were the negative impacts in that report of a new hotel tax. One reference in that report showed increasing lodging tax affects hotel stays differently in destination cities than in other locations. A study compared Charleston and Columbia, South Carolina, found that customers in Charleston, a tourist destination, were much less sensitive to overall prices than travelers to Columbia. It follows that customers are more willing to absorb price increases from lodging tax in places with more attractions and amenities. I ask you, is Farragut a tourist destination? Does Farragut have attractions and amenities that bring thousands of out-of-town tourists monthly? Another reference in that TACIR report pointed to the International Journal of Hospitality Management showing the impact of a hotel tax from a study done in 2014. That report uses statistical data to compare Midland, Texas, and neighboring Odessa, Texas, and the effect of a lodging tax. In 2007, Midland, Texas adopted a 1% lodging tax over neighboring Odessa. Though two cities in terms of amenities and proximity to the airport shared between them were the same. A 2014 study revealed that with that tax imposed, Midland hotels did not cut their rates in order to match the competitiveness of the Odessa hotel rates, and the hotels in Odessa with that lower tax rate saw higher occupancy and higher revenue per available rooms than those in Midland with that new hotel tax. That report concluded hotels competing for similar demand without additional occupancy taxes are likely to be in a competitive advantage over hotels that are subject to the occupancy tax. There are substitutable markets for a hotel room nearby. Imposing a new tax will inevitably undermine the performance of hotels in the area, which in return can reduce the total tax revenue for that taxing body. We all love living in Farragut. We love having our businesses here in Farragut. And at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want Farragut to be a great community to live, to work, and to play. And I sincerely ask you guys, please vote no today to this proposed hotel tax, and help set an open dialogue with us. Help set a dialogue with the business community to come up with ideas that will benefit the town, the businesses, and the residents, while not unfairly singling out just a few. Without openness, communication, and inclusion, none of us will win. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our second speaker is Alex Bakta at 11727 Autumn Glades.
I'd like to point out we do have a 5-minute limitation.
Got it right there.
Good evening. My name is Alex Bakta. I reside at 11727 Autumn Glade Lane. I am the general manager at the Holiday Inn Express, and I come before you today to strongly urge vote against the hotel motel tax tonight. The 9 hotels are not totally against levying additional occupancy tax to help fund more tourism. But by passing this tax tonight without a well thought out plan, a start of a plan, or even an idea of which direction the town of Farragut is going to go with additional funds for the tourism, will definitely end up in negative consequences for not only the hotels, but the surrounding businesses, as well as the town itself. I would like to define 2 key words: plan and budget. Plan, the definition of plan: a detailed proposal for doing or achieving something. And budget, an estimate of income and expenditure over a period of time. We, the 9 hotels, or even the residents of Farragut, have not seen or heard of a plan or a budget created for this tourism program, unless we missed the memo. Have you stopped and asked, why are all the hotels opposing this tax? It's not because we don't want to generate more revenue. It's because we understand the business. For starters, a 2% increase in tax will drop revenue by 2.4%. I'm sure you've heard that statistic over and over again. Let me put it in another terms for you guys. what that generates for a hotel is revenue is equal to a wages for 2 to 3 employees. So I ask you, if you vote yes tonight, are you willing to jeopardize the life and the livelihood of 18 to 27 people in the town of Farragut because of just this tax itself? What really draws tourism to Farragut? According to the Girl on the Roof, Farragut 3.1 race, Independence Day Parade, and the Knoxville Open Golf Tournament. Sorry about that. As far as the other events, Taco and Tequila, Farragut Food and Wine Festivals, are all the other events on the Farragut event page, they're all great. We all enjoy them. But the very important component missing that's currently in this plan is that they do not actually create room night stays. The purpose of this occupancy tax, I presume, is to actually create tourism so people will come and stay here. If they stay for multiple nights, they will actually spend money in Farragut. The occupancy tax will generate additional revenue. But without a plan and a budget in place, it's going to be, let's see here, I'm sorry. The occupancy tax generates additional revenue. It will generate additional revenue. But if a plan and budget is not in place before implementing the tax, it's sure a recipe for disaster. Those of you thinking about voting yesterday, are you really willing to gamble on the outcome of what the tax will do? Or would you like to sit down and would you like to have a strong and well thought out plan for success? The hotels are willing to help, but we've never been asked to assist in any real way, potentially, towards the plan of tourism. Like Alderman Pavlin said last time, this cannot be done without the hoteliers. I paraphrase. We are here and willing to help. We are here and willing to help our new Director of Tourism, as well as the town of Farragut, to come up with a successful plan. We, the hoteliers, ask you to vote no tonight. Let's regroup. We don't want to throw this under the bus. We don't want to get rid of it. We just need to come up with a solid plan to be able to be successful for the town of Farragut, as well as the businesses and the hotels in Farragut. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me ask you this. Are you and the other people involved, are you willing to come and sit down with us and let's see what kind of compromises or whatever else that we need to do to have flourishing businesses, at the same time we have the town, and we hope to keep it flourishing.
Absolutely.
Can we set that up and start having a dialogue between each other?
I and all the hotels would definitely agree for that path, and I think that's what we were aiming for, and that's what we would hope of doing.
Well, let's do it. Let's not talk about it.
Can I say a couple things,
Sure.
please? Back on June 7th, 2017, we had Kim Bumpus at a meeting of the EDAC, and she made a great presentation in this room for about an hour. The following month, on August 2nd, Sue Stoll was at that meeting, EDAC meeting, and gave a kind of a rundown of what the expenditures might be, what type of budget we might have for tourism and for marketing. And at that time, she said the tourism coordinator, she was estimating, might be around $40,000, and the marketing per year for the first year was probably $90,000. So we were given those numbers back in, again, August 2nd of 2017. At that time, and since then, I have heard Sue and I've heard Karen asking for people, for representatives from the hotels to be on a committee. We want to form a tourism committee, and we want representation from the hotel motel group on that committee to help us decide how to use that money and how it would best suit not only the hotels but the rest of the businesses as well. So we do want your input. We're asking for your input. We'd like to see some people on that committee.
I'd like to ask the other hoteliers, have you heard anything, or has anybody actually approached the hotels? All the hotels are being represented tonight.
Sue, am I wrong in that we're not reaching out to them for a committee?
Karen Tyndall has visited every hotel or made an attempt to visit every hotel. We have not put together a committee yet. That will come later in the summer.
We are looking to put a committee together, and we are asking for representation from the hotels. Yeah, just,
What's later in the summer?
Well, Karen's going to college, tourism college in June to refine some things, so we're hoping August or September that we'll get the appointments. She's working on charters and bylaws right now.
Okay, let me ask this. Time frame for once we get a committee going, a dedicated, hardworking 2, 3, 4 months. What are we looking at for getting a plan, a solid plan in place that is you could have some faith in? And I want to make a vote tonight, and my proposal is that we put the ordinance take effect at some future date. But I want a date. And I want a date that doesn't leave us twisting in the wind, that puts the fire to all of our feet to get together and have a conversation, because I understand we aren't a typical destination, but we have a lot of stuff going on in our town that we are not taking advantage of. There's stuff going on in the high school that lacrosse jamboree for everyone should mean, oh my goodness, teams are coming in from all over the place. Let's capture them and get them in Farragut. The robotics has an opportunity that we could have a robotics competition. That could be a 2-night stay. There are opportunities out there that we need to capitalize on, and we want to get started on this because we are seeing declining revenues. So we do not just need a hotel motel tax for the hay of it. We need one that is going to be effective. We need you on board. I would like to have a date that we could set it at so that we have a little bit of a motivation to make sure that we're not just kind of twiddling our thumbs. So what's the thought here? What do you think would be effective?
I mean, we would have to get together on that, but we would like to go ahead and set a date as well. But passing the law today, it doesn't make any sense. It's essentially watching a fire starting and not doing anything until it gets out of control and trying to put the fire out at that point in time.
Well, I'm willing to pass a law that says the ordinance doesn't take effect until October or November, but I want to understand what that process is so that when November hits, we are hitting the ground running. But I don't want to leave tonight without, I'm not going through this again. I'm not going through this whole conversation again. There's a lot that we're dealing with. I understand you guys are stressed out, and I appreciate that this is not an easy thing. I'm not taking this lightly. I understand that you feel very singled out, but we are looking at taking some tax dollars and putting it right at your doorstep. What can we do? Because you guys are competitors. So it's not that you necessarily want to share with each other, but we need we need people coming in and staying at your hotels. And I think we could be a great liaison between the schools and the parks, what's going on in the parks. We have weddings coming in. We have reunions coming in. We could be marketing for that and bringing more of that in there. We need to understand the path forward. But I'm inclined to pass this tax because the one thing that we hold out that has always been the sacred thing we hold up there is a property tax. The town of Farragut has lived for 38 years without a property tax. I do never want to see this board have to adopt a property tax by ordinance. That should be a referendum that the citizens vote on, and it should be because they want expanded services. So to me, everything else should be on the table for negotiation and discussion. I'm not interested in passing a hotel motel tax just to see a fund grow. I want to see some activity. I want to see you guys thriving. And so that's where I am. I'd like to see a date where we can push this out. I'm willing to push this out so we don't start collections right now. But I don't want us to just kind of leave this out floating. And that's my suggestion. I don't know if anyone else on the board thinks that that's a reasonable solution.
I think it's time we sit down together.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of the representatives here, and we can't sit down, and I can't give you a definite date right now because we don't have the answers to it. For us to sit down and nail something down, that means we would have to sit down and have a discussion and an open dialogue. Yep. And that's fair.
That's what that means.
If I could tell you that, hey, yeah, October 30th would be fine, we may not even get a resolution by that time. We should have had this resolution prior to this even coming to where it is right now. And I don't understand why it's gotten to this point and us fighting. As hoteliers, yes, we are competitors, but at this point in time, we are glued together like nobody else. We're not going to be falling apart. We are together, and we want to be with the town of Farragut and work with the town of Farragut.
All right, this is what I'm going to propose. I'm going to make a motion. We don't have to.
We still have 3 more speakers.
Okay. Sorry.
Our third speaker is Brianne Rasmussen at 1131 on Campbell Lakes Drive.
Hi. All right. Brianne Rasmussen. I'm representing 11319 Campbell.
I'm sorry,
Lake.
Can you speak
Oh,
up?
sorry.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you
Okay.
say your name again? I'm sorry.
Brianne Rasmussen. I'm representing 11319 Campbell Lakes Drive, Knoxville, Tennessee 37934.
Who is that?
Staybridge Suites.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, so I came with a long speech prepared, but you did already answer some of those questions, so thank you for that. I did want to talk about, first of all, the marketing message for the town of Farragut. It's shop, play, dine, and stay. Under stay, the message is easy access to the interstate, Oak Ridge, the airport, the Great Smoky Mountains. To me, and I think to others, this message kind of suggests that people go and stay here, but they go and spend their time and their money somewhere else. So at that point, how is that helping the town of Farragut? I also do want to mention that it was suggested that we use billboards for advertising. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but Staybridge Suites was actually required to take down 2 billboards in order to obtain a building permit in order to build the hotel itself. And then, let's see here. I provided a handout, and I'm not sure if you guys have it. It says accounts, 3,000 stays per night. I do want to discuss that as well. This is actually a real account that we have at the hotel. Their current rate is $109 per night with the tax of 14.25%. Their total comes to $124.53 per night per stay. With the new tax rate, which would be $16.75 is what it would go up to for them, it would be $127.26. Yearly, with the current tax rate, they're spending $373,590 at our hotel, staying at our hotel. When the tax rate goes up, it will be $381,780, which is a difference of $8,000, a little roughly over $8,000. I know some of you are probably business owners or have owned businesses or work for businesses. If you can save $8,000 by going 2 miles down the road, I would think that most of you would. If the companies that we have staying at our hotel leave, then all the people that are staying there are also going to take their money with them. They're not going to spend it in the town of Farragut for lunches and dinners and shopping. They're going to spend it in inner city Knoxville where they're going to stay. So I just want to ask, are you guys ready to pass the tax knowing that people are going to be spending their money elsewhere, they're going to leave? And is that not contradicting itself a little bit? So we are, as you guys discussed, ready to sit down. We would love to have, I actually work in the sales department, so all this is a real world example of what I'll directly be dealing with. I actually spoke with, I believe her name's Karen. I have a meeting with her, but there isn't any ideas of what's happening. We keep talking about a tourist destination, a tourist area, but what's bringing everybody to the area? There's Sir Goonies mentioned and things like that, but I don't think anybody's visiting the town of Farragut for Sir Goonies or for, the town of Farragut Museum necessarily. So we would absolutely love to sit down and figure this out before this is passed. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Amit Patel at 11244 Matthews Cove Lane.
Hi, my name's Amit Patel at 11244 Matthews Cove Lane. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Alderman, for your time and your service to the town of Farragut. I'm going to make this quick because I know that there's some openness for discussion. So I'm trying to go through my notes here. First off, as a Farragut hotel owner, I'm disappointed in the manner in which this proposed hotel tax has been pushed. If anyone's for increasing tourism, like others mentioned, it's me. I directly benefit from increased tourism. However, I have a number of question and points in no particular order that are still unanswered. I'm just going to go through a few of them, mark through as many as I could that we could hopefully discuss later. It was already brought up regarding the meeting last August, and looks like the board is ready to, get together and talk about it. During the last meeting, some of the board members stated that they did not understand how hotel rates worked and that personal cold calls were made to various hotels to only find that rates go up and down and vary from day to day. And based on this study, it was concluded that hotels are able to absorb a hotel tax. I just simply do not understand that study or how the conclusion was determined on that. I hope that we can sit down and, talk about that a little bit more. But the main thing that I want to the main reason I'm bringing that up is there's a lack of understanding of, I believe, by the board on how the hotel industry works. And that's worrisome. And the fact that this tax is being voted on today on the second reading or hearing, that's even more worrisome. This hotel business is more complex than meets the eye. And we've been pleading with the town without any success to allow us to share our knowledge. And I think it's needed. Next, some of the board members said that they don't really look at the hotel taxes when they travel. The fact that that's being used as a primary reason, or was used as a primary reason for justification of the tax, it's questionable to say the least. It's wonderful that some are in the position to not be burdened by the taxes. My personal experience, and it doesn't have anything to do with whether a tax should or shouldn't be imposed. I do look at the taxes, and it affects where I stay and where I shop. And that's what I'm going to teach my two children as well. Times have changed. Groups, individuals, meeting planners, corporate accounts, they all pay attention to how much they pay in taxes. And they're not in a position to take a blind eye to that. So surely there must be a more compelling reason as to why there's a support for this tax. Alderman Pavlin, like you stated in the last meeting, we have to work together. I agree. I fully support that. That's what we're asking for. We want to be involved. We want to be more involved than we've been able to be involved. We were just contacted, I believe, a day or two ago for the first time by the tourism coordinator, our director of sales at the hotel for the first time. General manager heard from her. That's great, but we're at this point now. We're already at this point, and now we're hearing from her. That there's something to be said about that. Next, Alderman Markley, based on the past public discussions, you're the only member that I feel that has been asking important questions publicly with the research and the time you've taken to explore the impact of the hotel. I thank you for that. I am disturbed, though, that any time you've been bringing up questions, you've been repeatedly, it feels, just my personal opinion, that you've been shut down by the rest of the board. And I'm confused as to why none of your 18 points have been brought up and publicly addressed. And it leads me to ask, why are we not discussing that publicly? And the main question is, what is the rush for pushing this hotel tax? Would it not be advisable to wait until the post-election coming up in the near future and let that board vote on this? This is a pretty important matter, and this is going to set a precedence for the future of Farragut. This could lead to taxes with everybody has been saying that. Who knows what could happen, but it could lead to taxes on restaurants, tire stores, you name it. I mean, it's just an open end. This is an important issue, and I think that a new board should be voting on this. Lastly, I'm just going to cut this short, probably out of time. Will the tax replace what the hall tax currently funds, or will it be spent on increasing tourism via new initiatives? It can't be both. Or will it be strategically allocated to fund anything that qualifies as tourism by definition in order to be compliant with the state legislature rather than creating true tourism? I'm out of time, but I look forward to meeting with the board, and I think it's just needed. Thank you.
I'm going to address some of your points. Several of Alderman Markley's points. He talked about the FBA. He talked about the Farragut West Knox Chamber of Commerce. They've been involved throughout this process, through the EDAC process. The FBA recently changed about 2-3 years ago, changed their mission from one of advocacy to one of, it's a Shop Farragut program is what we're pushing and trying to get, celebrate basically all business in the town of Farragut. You cannot selectively say we're going to tax tire stores and we're going to tax a liquor store other than whatever the state does. But I will tell you all so that you understand, and I don't want to sound self-serving, but I own Anytime Fitness, and Anytime Fitness, my members pay a sales tax on their memberships that the big box, the members of the big box gym right down the road from here don't pay. They are accepted from the sales tax because of the size of their facility. That's it. Other than that, we meet all of the other reasons why they apparently deserve the exception. No one from the state, no one from the county, and no one from the city comes to my business and tells me, hey, what can we do with that sales tax dollars to drive business into your business? That's not happening. That's what's happening here. I don't want to see, and because of that, I am very sensitive to the fact that if we're going to do this, it has to benefit you all. This has to be about heads in beds, because the heads in beds are the ones that, according to a recent study that Loudoun County did, heads in beds spend 5 times more in the local community than day trippers and business people. So this needs to be done right, and I agree with you. You need to come on board. So just so that those are a few of the issues. So
thank you.
Thank you.
I have something I would like to say too, to address one of the comments you made. I did that survey back whenever it was, a year and a half ago, and I had called a chain hotel in Farragut, and then I called the sister location in Cedar Bluff, and I asked for a rate for Thursday and I asked for a rate for Saturday, and the rate in Cedar Bluff was 18% higher than the rate in Farragut. Same room, same day.
And I'd love to sit down explain
just-
the reason for that.
So-
I would love to explain that. Yeah.
The 2% or 2.5% tax, and then I see an 18% difference on the same day, same type of room.
And there's a lot of reasons that I would love to just sit down and explain that to you. That's my whole purpose of me even being up here speaking. I think there's a lack of understanding of the hotel business, and that with that question even being brought up, I feel that I'm worried. To be honest with you, I think we need to.
We obviously need to sit down together and slug it out, I guess. But we want the best for you, because when you have the best, we have the best. So,
More tourism is more money in my pockets.
and
I'm
so-
okay with that.
But we can't do this in a vacuum. We have to have everybody here.
I agree 100%.
So let's start that process immediately.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And I'm telling my people here, set it up.
Our last speaker is Jill Thompson at 7520 Hollycrest.
Hi, I'm Jill Thompson at 7520 Hollycrest. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Knoxville Hospitality Association. And our gentlemen and Brianna have covered almost every aspect that we've tried to cover. We're asking to be included, or they are asking to be included. There's just a couple of points that I did want to make, and I apologize for not being here at your last meeting. But Mr. Jeff Elliott, I believe it was, he stated that the local citizens would not be affected by a hotel tax. On December 1, 2015, the Tennessee Attorney General issued an opinion that short-term rentals, such as your Airbnb, your VRBOs, and other type of platforms for short-term rentals, are subject to sales and occupancy lodging tax, or as y'all are referring to, a hotel tax. The state legislature in 2018 session just passed the HB 1020 and the SB 1086, which states short-term rentals are included in the definition of hotels for the purpose of applying occupancy taxes and sale taxes, and that the tax must be collected and remitted. Therefore, Mr. Elliott was incorrect in his assumption that it would not affect local citizens. Passage of a hotel tax will absolutely affect your local citizenship. And a quick research, if you don't know that there are Airbnbs, there are short-term rentals in the town of Farragut. I did a quick research, a random study for, let's say, a random stay on June the 6th. In the middle of the week, everything should be open. It showed that 74% of the available rentals were already rented on the Airbnb site. And that's just one of the platforms that are available to STRs. One of the assumptions, return that we've been stating over and over again, the return on investment for the state of Tennessee marketing is an 18-to-1 percentage, a figure that's touted for the entire state. This Tennessee Department of Tourist Development spent $19 million to calculate that type of return. They're promoting tourism assets across the state of Tennessee. That would be difficult for the town of Farragut to get that type of return. Again, we've stated several times that from the American Economic Group Incorporated, the study is entitled Room Taxes and the Economic Impact of the Lodging Industry. They found a 2% increase in room tax results in a 2.4 reduction in room sales and visitor spending. So correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure that the town can afford an overall decrease. One of our biggest competitors for this group is the group business in Oak Ridge. The Oak Ridge hotels have a 5% lodging tax, and they're locked into that rate. They will never be able to take it above 5%. The Farragut hotels would be priced above them with another tax. They'd be losing business to them soon because there's 2 hotels going into Oak Ridge now, and the others that are in the pipeline and being developed would again populate and cause more hotel rooms available in Oak Ridge, which we will lose. Our hotels will lose more business that way as well. The Farragut hotels enjoy a great piece of business from state and federal businesses at the per diem rate established for Knoxville, which is now above Oak Ridge, and we're getting a lot of that business now. An additional hotel tax would push the business back to Oak Ridge or to Knox County. The owners and developers of Farragut hotels, they conduct market researches, they do analysis, they do feasibility studies before deciding to spend their millions of dollars into this community. They have a long-term significant impact for the growth in the town. They already pay a 5% lodging tax. By passing an additional tax, they lose their competitive edge and would be punished for being the very economic engine creating revenue for the town. We thank Alderman Markley for his desire to promote a better business environment and wanting to work with the hotels. We thank Alderman Pavlin thank you for trying to include them and absolutely giving them the opportunity. We appreciate that, so we can find a solution to increasing revenues for the town and not simply imposing a tax. As Alderman Markley stated at the last meeting, the town has the authority to pass this tax at any time. We want to know what is the urgency without public input, without consulting our businesses. We appreciate you giving us the opportunity to do that. The hotels are ready. They've given you their commitment to talk to you and be prepared to discuss these situations. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
Have anything you need to add?
Who are you speaking to?
All of us.
That concludes our speakers. I'm sorry.
Okay, so now we have a motion on the table. It's open for discussion.
I wanted to make an alternate motion.
Before we even discuss the first motion,
Let's do a little bit of discussion before
Okay.
we make motions, if you don't mind. Boy, I'm glad to hear you guys are now ready to talk, sit down, talk, and be on board. Back whenever we first discussed this at the Economic Development Committee, some of you were there, and but as the meetings wore on, none of the hotels showed up, but a few of us stayed the course, and we had a subcommittee that we formed, and one of my jobs on the subcommittee was to go out and to discuss this with the hotels. Not a hotel tax. That was not our point. Our point was to work together to develop tourism, and that was my goal. Two of you accidentally took my phone call. None of you would see me. I dropped in on all the hotels to talk with you, and nobody would see me. I am so glad now that you're ready to sit down and talk. I just wish it had happened before. Thank you.
Alderman Pinchot, you have anything you want to add to that?
Nothing.
Well, it probably won't surprise any of you that I have a few things to say about this. First of all, I'd like to read some words to you from a little book that we all should be familiar with. We want to set up a situation where this community will control its own destiny. Governing officials would become much more accessible. Most likely they would be your neighbors. The people would be able to tell their governing officials what they want. Anybody want to guess who said that? That was Ralph McGill in 1980 when he was founding this town. Now I want to share another thought. From 9 years ago when our mayor was running for mayor, one of the planks in his platform was a friendlier relationship with our business community. Our businesses are the source of most of the town's revenues through sales tax receipts. We need them. They need us. We should be asking, how can we help? Referenda. We should use voter referenda to decide the biggest issues in the town. The voters should have input. I can't agree more, Mayor.
Yeah,
That is, those are the principles that this town was founded on, and I can't think of a bigger issue. We're talking about taxing a certain segment of our town. It was interesting, Alderman Pavlin said that we need revenue, and if we don't do this, if we don't increase sales tax revenues, we're going to need a sales tax, a property tax.
Not say that.
Would you like to state what you said then?
You can go ahead, but I did not say that.
Okay, what I understood from my notes was that we need to pass this, so we won't need to look at a property tax. Would you like to clarify what you meant, or does that sum it up?
Bob, I'm fine. Okay. That's not what I intended, and I'll correct.
Well, I'm giving you an opportunity to correct. I'm just telling what I understood. The audience may have understood differently, and
I can reiterate what I said.
Okay. Would you care to do so? Okay. So it's interesting you said that we would only do that with a referendum to tax her. But it's okay to tax you guys without a referendum. I think that's an interesting perspective. Now, we've had two former members of this Board of Mayor and Aldermen that got up here and talked, almost boasted about how careless they were with their employers' money, that they had never, ever considered how much the tax was on their rooms as they traveled all about the country. One of them, who traveled extensively for the Department of Energy and said that he traveled 25 times a year, said that he paid for those himself. I don't think the Department of Energy makes their employees pay for their own hotel rooms, so I kind of doubt the validity of that statement. But I have a little graphic here that if Allison could put it up on the screen for you, please. That one, yeah. Some people do think about how much a room costs and how much the tax is. This is across the border from Nashville, and they're drawing people up there because $7, $10 a night a room is a big deal, especially if you travel extensively. And then that brings us to the next slide, if you'd put it up. We talk about hotels and motels as a part of the travel budget. The study in TACIR, which has been so quoted or based on in our discussions, says that lodging is only 17.4% of the average travel expense. 31% is food service. So if we cut their revenues by 2%, 2% of that is going to see a 2.4% reduction in that 17%. But it's also going to impact all the rest of this circle. There is a halo effect. We can't ignore that. Now, we've based our premises so heavily on TACIR, this report, that everybody likes to quote. And I've read, it's a 58-page report. I've got some excerpts from it here. And you want to talk about something, I challenge anybody to look at the information that we are basing these decisions on in our Alderman packet here. TACIR is one of the big ones. This was a study that was commissioned by the state of Tennessee. And you have to keep in mind who commissioned this study, who paid for it, and what their motivations are. Government has a natural tendency to want to expand its reach, its domain, just as any business has a natural tendency to expand its market share. It's natural. So they commissioned this report, and everybody's saying, oh, we need to have a hotel motel tax because TACIR says we should. I've read this thing, and I challenge anybody to find a recommendation in here to institute a hotel motel tax. I challenge anyone to find anything in here that says that it will increase tax revenues. It's not in here. It does say things like we should consider methods to require public input before adopting lodging taxes. It says some allow rates to be set locally, including a handful that require referendums. Only 5 require public hearings on lodging taxes. This is a big deal. It needs a lot more input than what we've given it. And then it goes on to say, although there is little evidence that Tennessee's economy or the tourism and hospitality industries are adversely affected by its lodging tax structure, there may be other reasons to reduce its complexity. Does that sound like saying, yeah, let's do that? They're saying there's little evidence that the economy and hospitality industries are adversely affected. There's not a whole lot of evidence showing that it really hurts it. Okay, that's not a real high recommendation. Goes on to say, although tourism is generally thriving in Tennessee, the hospitality industry has expressed concern that the relatively high lodging taxes in some parts of Tennessee turn visitors and developers away, harming the industry and the state's economy. More, lodging customers overall are not very sensitive to lodging taxes. How sensitive customers are depends on other conditions, including whether the area is a tourist destination. There's a lot of things to be considered here. This is a whole lot more complex, including whether the area is a tourist destination and whether there are hotels of the same class or status with similar amenities in neighboring jurisdictions with lower lodging taxes. We have that all around us. In the latter case, where there are lower lodging taxes, the difference in lodging taxes could hurt hotels in locations with higher tax rates, particularly those whose main business is hosting conventions and business travelers. So what that's saying is, we are taking business away from those other hotels who have the same amenities because we have a more accommodating tax structure. That's what TACIR is saying. For individual travelers and non-business travel in general, the burden of lodging tax falls mainly on customers, not on hotels. Who are our clients? Do we know? Who are the clients of these hotels? Are they business travelers? Are they convention travelers? Or are they just individual travelers and non-business travelers? We haven't asked them. We don't. Does anybody here know? Can anybody on this board tell me who our clients are in these hotels? It goes on to say, the state of New York repealed its 5% lodging tax, and the city reduced its rate from 6% to 5%, making the overall rate 15.25%, which is almost exactly what ours is going to be if we add this on. Following the reduction, tourism and tax revenues surged. Interesting. Does that sound like a real strong recommendation for taxes, for hotel motel tax to improve tourism? I don't think so. People talk about our strategic plan. Oh, our strategic plan says we need this tax. I challenge anybody in here to find that. You know, we spent, how much do we spend on Novak to help us prepare the strategic plan?
$20,000.
$20,000. They said, we need to promote a convenient retail and service destination, collaborating with strategic partners to promote business development. Now, how do you get strategic partners? Organization 101 is you've got to get buy-in from the participants. You got to have the support and the engagement of the stakeholders. The town said a result of a bold vision and effective public-private partnerships. You don't get public-private partnerships by walking all over people. That doesn't happen. This needs to be a very collaborative effort. It needs to be carefully and thoughtfully done. Nobody else on this board has been on here long enough to remember this, but as an inaugural member of the Farragut Economic Development Advisory Committee, along with Nancy Howard, who is a tourism specialist, and Nick Myers and Bill Johns, as a member of the Farragut Economic Development Committee and primary author of the community's first comprehensive strategic plan, we examined the hotel tax then. We didn't even know about it. We found it out. It was part of our job to seek out economic opportunities for the town. Nancy Howard, a former hospitality executive, then our group, along with the Farragut Business Alliance and Farragut West Knox Chamber membership, studied the pros and cons of a proposed hotel tax. It was determined back then, this was 2009, folks. So that's why I keep saying, why does this thing keep rearing its ugly head? We've been there and we've done this. We examined the pros and cons of a proposed hotel tax. It was determined back then that there was no business case at that time, and in the future, if to proceed with such a hotel tax, many positive factors were to be established in the business community. First, especially having sound existing tourism, retail, and economic development coming in, positive business, town of Farragut relationships, a good relationship with our businesses, which we've worked so hard for over these last 9 years. Long-term economic development committee / business plan with a quantitative, measurable metrics. In addition, the Farragut Economic Development Committee agreed at that time the hotels would need to buy into the hotel tax, which would be supported by a strong business case, which we have not presented, that would prove to be a win-win for all parties. Alderman Markley was a member of the inaugural Farragut EDC. talking to past and current members of the EDC, there is a strong agreement that the timing of such hotel tax is premature and could be devastating. I could go on and on. I have a lot more here. But I think we can all see, if we're honest with ourselves, that tourism and business are essential to our town. And I don't think necessarily tourism, because we're not a tourist attraction, but travel-related business. We're sitting on the interstate. We've got 100,000 unique trips up and down that highway every day. We need to figure out how to cash in on that, and we need to provide something that those people need. And nobody is better to lead that charge than the people who are in that business and who have invested tens of millions of dollars. In fact, since the time that we had that first look at the hotel motel tax, how many fantastic new hotels have been built in our town? And why do you think they chose to build here? I think there's a good reason for it. There's a favorable tax structure. They don't have a city tax, a city property tax, which lowers their operating expense. They don't have a hotel motel tax, as the city does and all the cities around us do. They do pay a county hotel motel tax, which supports tourism and is dedicated to bringing people here. And because of their advantage...
No, it's not.
It is dedicated to bringing tourism to Knoxville, the Knoxville area,
Farragut.
Knox County. But, so, they're spending that money. We are in a position to cash in on it because we have a strategic advantage. We're about to tilt the playing field on these folks who have come in and invested tens of millions of dollars. I don't know how much the new hotels out there have cost, but I know they've invested tens of millions of dollars in our town and provide a tax base. I think you guys pay like $125,000 a year in sales tax they add to our revenues. This is a major industry, and if we diminish their competitive edge, they don't just put that extra money in their pockets. I run a business. I know if I have extra revenue, I improve my facilities, I upgrade my tools and equipment, I give my employees raises, I can provide a better service and a more attractive service. So I urge the members of this board to consider this. I know y'all have a lot invested in this and really want to see this done, but I can tell you that it will have a negative impact. If our goal is to increase revenues for the town, this is not how we're going to do it. And if we do this, it's going to be an issue. So I want to make an alternate motion that, as I did the last time, to make an alternate motion that this board table this motion. Don't pass it. We're not ready to pass it. We're willing to spend $60,000 to get Live Closer, Go Further. We can spend a few dollars to promote this town and give this some thought. So I hereby make a motion, an alternate motion, that this board table this motion for a proposed hotel motel tax until the new board is constituted after the August 2nd election, and the 18 issues which I presented before, the many more issues which I have presented today, and the ones that these good members of our community have presented can be properly addressed. Do I have a second? Or do we need to have a second to open discussion? Have somebody?
Mayor, I did not sign up, but I've been listening to what's been going on, and if I could have a minute or two just to share some thoughts.
If you could just go to the podium.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Kelly Clancy. I live at 376 Dominion Circle. I have nothing to do with the hospitality industry, but in all fairness, it seems like this is moving forward without the proper due diligence from all parties. They're willing to go ahead and meet with you, and Mayor McGill, you had stated you think that you require their input. I would recommend going with Alderman Markley's to table the motion. We don't have a coherent plan, as one gentleman had said, don't have a budget. Once you have something concrete, you can move forward, but I think it's not fair and somewhat unseemly to move forward without getting this worked out. Those are my thoughts, and I hope you'll regard them. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion on the table.
Second.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, we're open to discuss it.
I'd like to go back to your point, let you finish your thoughts. I believe that coming in here as an alderman, that property tax that's a sacred thing. They specifically founded our town without a property tax, mostly because they didn't want to muddy the water with the incorporation vote by driving people off with a property tax. I spoke to a founding member last year who indicated to me that they did not believe that they would last 4 or 5 years without a property tax. And I said to him, I understand that, but 38 years later, we're still thriving without a property tax. And so to think about considering a property tax from a board level, it would just be wrong. That is a referendum. That is a change in how our town was founded, and that needs to be it needs to be a voters' referendum. We are facing declining revenues. The Improve Act did not improve our bottom line, and retail is changing. These are the realities of trying to live on business-generated revenue. I think it's a mistake to try to address a problem when you're in a crisis. We are not in a crisis, but I also think everything else should be on the table to be reflected and looked at, and I have no problem putting this off for a while to seriously consider and understand what we're getting into, because I can guarantee you, whenever you guys set up this meeting with this, hopefully all of you come, I can tell you the 3 people that will be there for sure, because we've been at every meeting for just about anything that has to do with this and planning, and that would be Alderman Williams, Alderman Pinchot, and I. We will show up for everything because we want to learn. Because when we learn, we can be better advocates for what we'd like to accomplish. But 5 years ago, when we tried to pass this, it died before the second. And I didn't support it. When this came up to us 5 years ago, it was going to go to the general fund, which to me is absolutely not what you do with a hotel motel tax. Surprisingly, a lot of the surrounding municipalities and counties send a lot of their hotel motel tax to their general fund. They do not put it all towards their tourism and especially towards heads and beds. So I have always been very clear that if we do this, needs to be the primary focus, because I realize, and that's why I asked for a reduction in the rate so that we could remain competitive with Lenoir City and with City of Knoxville. That was the reasoning behind that. I think it's, I would like it, and I'm going to make another motion, a motion to.
Are you amending?
I'm amending the ordinance section 2 from a date of June 1st, 2018 to, I'm going to make it a nice New Year number, January 1st, 2019. That gives us time to sit down and learn and discuss and figure out what's going on with our parks and figure out what's going on with our fields and what assets we have and how we can best utilize them. And it puts a little bit of pressure on making sure that we're meeting often and we're crafting a really good plan. So that's my motion.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion?
We have 2 motions.
Well, we're going to open discussion on this second motion. We have a motion and a second.
We have 3 motions.
So we need to get this one off the table before we can vote on mine, which we need to vote on before we can vote on the other one. So here again, as Alderman Pavlin noted, we're not in a crisis. She says we're facing declining revenues. Well, our sales tax revenues are not going down. We're losing some revenue from the hall income tax and the other state taxes. You know, it's interesting to me that what nobody has talked about is, oh, we're losing some revenue. Well, what happens if inflation catches up with my budget and I'm losing some revenue and I don't get a raise? I have to cut spending. Nobody's thought about that. Nobody's talked about that. This is not a crisis, and if we lose a little bit of funding and we don't make it up, then we can always cut spending. We don't need a $6 million Great Lawn right now. I mean, we can push that back. We don't need to refurbish the Campbell Station Inn. We can stabilize it and we can let it sit. We have lots and lots of options without hastily rushing into passing this tax. Secondly, we have authority from the state to enact this tax. They're not going to revoke that. There's no time limit on that. We have the authority to do it. So we can do it any time. We all agree pretty much that there's no real urgency to do it. That I think we all agree that there's study and collaboration needs to be done. So why would we rush forward and pass this? I think that that's going to waste the equity in our brand that we have built over the last 9 years. There was the mayor's initiative to help make Farragut a business-friendly place. I don't think that this will give us a black eye in the eyes as a business community rushing into this. I see no need to pass this, and I think that we'd be best off just to table it until we can get together and get a plan up.
Is that a motion?
Well, we have a motion on the table. Is there any other discussion?
So which motion?
Yeah,
Can I call the question now?
I think just to clarify the motions that we probably need to work through. Alderman Pavlin's, the last motion she made, which was seconded by Alderman Williams, was to change the effective date of the ordinance before you from June 1st to January 1st, 2019. So that's the first motion that you're going to have on your docket. So move on to Alderman Markley's motion, and then finally the ultimate ordinance motion.
Okay.
I understand. The first motion of Alderman Pavlin is to vote for the tax, but with a delay.
You're only voting for the delay. That's what you're voting for right here, is the effective, changing the effective date from June 1st to January 1st, 2019.
Okay.
Okay, we've had a motion and a second.
Are we ready to vote?
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Alderman Pavlin has, I think she has called the question. Is that what we have here? Okay, this is probably one of the most abused motions in parliamentary procedure. According to Robert's Rules of Orders, it's very common for people to shout out the word "call the question" in the expectation that debate will immediately stop and a vote will be taken. This is wrong, wrong, wrong. A member must have the floor in order to make this motion. Raise your hand, wait until the chair gives you the nod, recognize you before speaking. When you make this motion, you're only suggesting that you would like to stop debate and vote. It's an expression of your wish, not a hammer to bludgeon your colleagues.
Okay. That's my expression. I'd like to stop debating and
Start voting?
yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
That's my expression of hope.
Okay, this motion requires a second. There has been a second. There has to be at least two people in the room who want to cut off debate before it can be considered. This motion cannot be discussed or debated once it's on the table. As soon as the chair hears a second, she immediately takes the vote. It takes 2/3 of the voting members in favor to cut off debate. Therefore, the chair should take the vote by a show of hands. Okay? So this is how it should be done if we want to do this. We want to employ this tactic.
Okay.
So now we have a motion on the table to call the question. Mr. Chairman, do you want to call the question and call a vote? It's been seconded.
Can we get who seconded that? I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Okay.
All right.
So this is a vote to call the question.
This is a vote to call the
Yes, okay,
question, and it
so,
takes 2/3
Okay.
to pass it.
So I vote yes.
All right.
Yes. Ralph.
Yes.
Okay, we need a show of hands. So we see the show of hands. Okay. No, for the record. Okay. Now, we're ready to vote on Alderman Pavlin's motion.
Correct. So we have Alderman Pavlin with the motion, Alderman Williams with the second. However y'all want to dispose of that.
By show of hands?
Roll call, you can vote like we normally do, however you'd like to do it.
Roll call, please.
And this will require a two-thirds vote to pass the tax, whether it's now or later.
Is it a two-thirds vote to pass the changing of the
No.
language, or
No.
just the tax itself?
Just the tax itself.
But we're passing the tax.
No.
We're
No,
just passing-
this
we're
is
not.
just
Pushing
a
it down.
change in the
Okay.
language.
All right.
The date change.
Okay.
Alderman Markley.
No.
Alderman Pinchot.
Yes.
Alderman Poplin.
Yes.
Alderman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor McGill.
No.
Motion fails.
No, it passes.
It's two-thirds.
It does not.
Passes.
Passes.
Oh, okay.
It's the
Okay.
change of the date.
Okay.
Now we're back to Alderman Markley's motion to table this item indefinitely, basically. And seconded by Mayor McGill.
No, my motion was, let me repeat it.
Till the new BMA, I'm sorry, yes.
Yes, proposed hotel motel put to table this motion until the new board is constituted after the August 2nd election.
Alderman Markley.
So this is in favor of my motion
Mm-hmm.
to postpone it. Yes, yes.
Alderman Pinchot.
No.
Alderman Poplin.
No.
Alderman Williams.
No.
Mayor McGill.
Yes.
So that one,
That one fails.
That one failed as well.
So now you're going to vote on the tax to fully enact it and implement it effective immediately at
That's
2.5%, correct?
This is the one that needs.
No.
It'll be 2.5% tax. It would be effective January 1st of 2019 based on the prior motions that you made. So this is the motion that is on the table right now. And this does require a two-thirds majority of the board to pass it.
I'm getting there. Sorry. Never had so many roll calls in 3 or 4 years.
Okay, could we restate the motion?
This is to pass the ordinance as in your packet and as amended with a effective date of January 1st, 2019.
Alderman Markley.
No.
Alderman Pinchot.
Yes.
Alderman Poplin.
yes.
Alderman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor McGill.
No.
So it does not pass at this point.
Motion fails.
So what does that mean for the next thing? Because that's a resolution connected to the hotel motel tax that did not pass.
You can delete it off the agenda if you want
Okay.
to. There's no point in having it.
So we're moving on to Ralph,
Let's see, where are we?
Town Administrator Report.
Dave?
Do you want to do the video, Allison? We had a video that we received from Girl on the Roof, and it's a video for showing businesses our community. So we just wanted to play it for you tonight.
Welcome to Farragut, where East Tennessee comes to shop, play, dine, and stay. Part of the Knoxville MSA, with a population of 860,000, Farragut draws consumers from a 25-county area. More than 110,000 cars pass through Farragut every day. You may have a presence in Nashville, Chattanooga, Lexington, or Atlanta, but if you're not in Farragut, you're missing. Consumers with household income and property values more than double the state's median. Farragut has more than 3 million square feet of business space available for big box, neighborhood center, mixed-use development, and office space. Current businesses include a variety of retail, dining, and lifestyle offerings. Farragut boasts 9 hotels with 725 rooms, Farragut's thoughtful municipal planning emphasizes quality and aesthetic consistency. An active Chamber of Commerce and Business Alliance promote new businesses, economic development, and community events. Farragut also boasts well-maintained homes in a clean, safe community, highly rated schools, natural beauty, and rich history. So come build your business in Farragut. We've got a spot waiting just for you. Farragut, Tennessee. You're in good company here.
It's our favorable tax structure. We got everything else in there.
Like that, we've been working with them for the last couple of months, and we were going to be presenting that to many of the businesses and developers we're going to be meeting with at ICSC here in just a week, so or a little over a week. Also, this weekend, the Knoxville Open is going on. Hopefully, everybody gets out to Foxton Country Club and watches the pro golfers in action over the Mother's Day weekend. And finally, just one bit of the news is that McPhee Park will be closed tomorrow until 3 p.m. And this is the area where the new turf is that we just put in. We're going to restretch that to get it a little tighter since they did it in the winter, and it's heated up now. So we're going to get that nice and tight. But the splash pad's open, and we're getting a lot of use out of it already. So with that, I have nothing else to report.
Anybody
Report
else?
from me. No report.
Really didn't appreciate
Anybody
the
else have anything?
email I got from Tom Hill this week. So.
Thank you, everybody.
I don't want to waste your time. Yeah.
Sorry. If you had an issue with the mayor, you should have gone to him directly. That was,
Sunshine law, Alderman Pablo.
Frank, wait.